What have been your first impressions of Corpus Christi?
So I rented a place on North Beach, and this is the first time in my ever time life that I literally can walk 100 yards or 100 feet or whatever it is and be on the beach. So I have been delighted by probably the vibe of the place. It's so welcoming. I have been to the aquarium. I've done the USS. I mean, you could spend a whole day on the USS Lexington. Probably same in the aquarium.
Right.
We have got some really world-class assets.
Welcome to United We Podcast, the official podcast of the United Corpus Christi Chamber of Commerce, the only chamber podcast in South Texas. I'm your host, Al Ariola Jr., and we're here to explore the latest business insights, community stories, and opportunities shaping the coastal bend. Whether you're a business owner or just passionate about our region, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back, Chamber family and friends, to United We Podcast. We are pleased to have a very special guest and welcome her to our community, Miss Brook Kaufman. She is taking over Visit Corpus Christi. Welcome to Corpus Christi, Brook.
Thank you. So great to be here. Thanks for the opportunity today.
We're looking forward to getting to know you. I think the audience should get to know this too. We haven't even had lunch yet or coffee yet. This is me getting to know you in real time in front of the audience as well.
Literally, I know that you're sweating bullets about this. We talked about this right before we started the show, and I was like, oh no, he doesn't have any idea where I was going to go. And truth be told, can I just say what I asked you?
Sure.
Like, can you cuss on this podcast? I like straight out. So
and my staff knows I have my moments with my mouth, but I've yet to cuss. I think on this so far.
Is that shocking to any of your listeners?
Maybe the listeners, maybe not my staff.
I'm going to try to keep it together today on the rails.
So, well, let's get to know you. You come to us via South Dakota, correct?
South Dakota.
Rapid City?
You got it.
Well, I guess that you had a role there. I'm assuming it was similar to what you're doing here for us?
Exactly the same, different assets. Yep.
That I wanted to talk on assets is, I guess, tell us a little bit about the community you were from and what you were proud to, I guess, represent, so to speak.
So I've done this a couple times. This is my third destination as CEO. First was in Casper, Wyoming, so very different, heavy skilled worker, very industrial. A lot of similarities to Corpus, if I'm honest. So
Okay.
A light leisure market, interstate system that ran through, that really was a feeder for a lot of leisure. Yellowstone, close proximity to Yellowstone. Rapid City, very different market. They see 4 million visitors a year. Mount Rushmore's there, 7 national parks and monuments. So it really is kind of the Americana destination where
Gotcha.
it's old school, right? People, it's on their bucket list. They're usually hitting that. They're on their way to Yellowstone. So a nice heavy leisure segment, which I felt was really important to bring to this piece of our community as well. So I feel like in Corpus so far, I've been here a couple weeks, is we have both. Like, we're heavy industry, but we're also very heavy tourism. So I think it's a nice blend of some of my experience.
Well, you brought up your first experience. It was kind of a pass-through town, so to speak. This one, we're not that in many ways. You kind of have to want to come here, or the edge of the road, so to speak, the edge of the water.
Yeah.
What do you see, I guess, challenges or opportunities in those spaces?
One of the things that really interested me about the place is I feel like we're on the cusp of the next evolution of Corpus. So when you come in and you see the bridge, or for whatever the bridge, you see the bridge, and then you see the investment in infrastructure that's happening, all of the road construction, you cannot help but think like people are really investing in this community. So that to me creates opportunity, and even industry drives tourism too, right? So I think there's a lot of opportunity with that. So really an exciting time to be here. So it's weird that I would look at infrastructure and say that.
No. I'm
but
glad you did. So you nailed it, though. We've heard our state representative Todd Hunter compare the bridge to the Mona Lisa. It's once it's finished, people will see it and understand it and why it is what it is and the scale of it and all that good stuff. And I think more to your point, opportunity is coming. Well, let's get to before we get into the nitty gritty of economic development, tourism,
Yep.
infrastructure, like you're already kind of chiming in. What have been your first impressions of Corpus Christi?
So I rented a place on North Beach, and this is the first time in my ever time life that I literally can walk 100 yards or 100 feet or whatever it is and be on the beach. So I have been delighted by probably the vibe of the place. It's so welcoming. It really has been the destination that hands down has welcomed me more warmly than anywhere I've been.
Oh, great. That's
So I
nice to
have
hear.
loved that. I have been to the aquarium. I've done the USS. I mean, you could spend a whole day on the USS Lexington. Probably same in the aquarium.
Right.
We have got some really world-class assets here that have just been such a delight. So I can see why people stay. I can see why families come. So many neat things. But if I'm real honest, and I don't want to pick favorites, but if I had to pick, that National Seashore, I felt like I was breaking the law when I was driving
Driving
on the
on
beach. I'm like, is this legal? I think I had a permit at the time. Like they make you buy the thing and all that. But I was like, this is the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. And then you literally pull your car up, and that happens in every beach in this place. And I like never before have I seen anything like that.
But yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up. And yeah, that the little permit fee is what kind of is used to help keep it clean. You know all this now. Now you're going to learn all this. But you brought up the Padre Island side of the beach. North Beach, I'm going to get a little controversial with you here. So it's a man-made beach. I think you can catch
You
that
can
up.
kind of see.
Yeah, it's man-made. And so when I've had friends come to town and they'll say, "Oh, I was at the beach, and oh, your beach is this or your beach is that, or the sand was rough," and I'm like, "Where were you at? What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Oh, we were over there, North Beach." I'm like, "That's not the beach."
Okay, fair.
Yeah, and so I always said, you actually want to see the beach, the true beach, you go to the barrier islands, and that's where a little nicer water, a little nicer sand, so to speak. But, what I always thought about, back to economic development and infrastructure, I don't want to say I'm presumed to be smarter than the people way back when, but I feel like there was a missed opportunity making that more into like a boardwalk kind of vibes, where it, that infrastructure could be a little bit more understood than what we ended up doing.
So I think that's fair. I don't know if I thought, well, it should have been that. I think I'm super curious about. Let's talk specifically North Beach just for a
Sure,
second.
sure.
I don't know the story yet. Maybe you do. I'm shocked at how close the development was. And did that development happen around the time of the bridge when there was no planning and zoning? Like it's obviously in a floodplain. It's in the negative sea level area. And I think some houses, some gone, something. And I can't figure out from a development perspective the story behind where that is.
If you're asking me, was there a plan? I doubt that there was. And I think what you've seen more contemporarily is there's been a lot of conversation about exactly what you said, the flooding and all those infrastructure issues that are there. There have been some dreams and plans to make it more, make some of the flooding easements into kind of like Riverwalk vibes, like over there and whatnot. But it's a lot of conversations, and not a lot has happened fast. But on this side of the bridge, what is exciting recently is they announced that we're going to be able to finally tear down that historic courthouse that you see there.
So when I interviewed, I asked about that, and they said, well, there's all these reasons and all this red tape. So I don't think it had quite been decided that it could be. So
Right.
I would love to hear the story. Like that, it's such a beautiful building. It's just heartbreaking.
It is and it isn't, right? So inside, some of the structure is just compromised completely. And I guess had they really taken the assets here, I think some debt associated with it too, that the county is trying to free themselves. And you probably noticed that the county it is having a lot of difficult conversations about their budget. They only take in so much revenue. I think there's pennies compared to most. And so this I want to say liability, not even an asset, was something that I know our current county judge has been pretty passionate about, trying to work the legislature where necessary to try and get this demolished. And I think we're finally in the right steps that we were otherwise not for a very, very long time. And so to your point earlier, a lot's happening like simultaneously, and that's very exciting to see.
I would say like gateway to downtown, that's going to really change the game.
Right.
So you see it and you think, wow, that has so much potential. I've heard saying like dilapidated, not savable, but I think about that very critical corridor into our downtown and what the perception of that, and it will absolutely create a new narrative.
Well, let me ask you a controversial question. I'm assuming there is Mexican food where you're from, but have you tried ours?
Listen, I don't want to pick favorites on this because I have board members who own restaurants. But yes, I feel like the foodie scene here is underrated.
Yeah.
Like it is a surprise. And yes, I've eaten more here than I've ever eaten in my whole life.
Well, yeah, be careful with some of our Hispanic food. It'll catch up to you, but it's very tasty. It's very tasty, and I obviously enjoy it a lot. Well, Brooke, a little bit more about the organization that you're taking over. I guess first impressions, too, about where they are and where you're headed.
I think one of the neat things, and anybody listening to this knows my predecessor. I know Brett, work with Brett, teach a class with Brett, have a ton of respect. Like he is an icon in our industry, so we stand on the shoulders of Brett for sure. So I look at the team and the capacity and the things they work on, next level, like so good. And I think even you and I mentioned about the activation around the legislative session. So they just do everything first class. That has been a delight for me. I do see some opportunities longer term we're super heavy on the marketing side of things. I really see an opportunity in that group sales space. So you're going to see us go hard at that. Also,
But can you explain for the folks that maybe don't know group sales, so to speak?
Yep. So meetings and conventions. So we have a very robust effort in that, but I think there's more opportunities. So sometimes we're limited in like the size of facilities, maybe condition of facilities. it could be group size or it could be transportation because of the proximity of lodging compared to the conference center. But I do see some opportunities to really get super focused on who meets in Corpus and what our inventory really fits so that we can drive some of that. So to me, when we drive group business, it creates this base or this foundation in our hotels where they're like, great, we're locked in to this many rooms at this rate, and it gives them more stability, right? And it's not that they're not doing a great job too, but like we get to compliment them in that effort. So you're going to see us go really, I would say we go stronger. But the other thing I'm really interested in, and you can lend some insight to this, I think there's opportunity in sports. Like the sports commission got stood up a few years ago. We've had some turnover in staff. Man, our sports team does sell, and I love that. I also feel like we're a venue or two potentially away from real tourism in the sports space. So I don't know if you have any insight to that too, but there's an evolution to the sports piece that's coming.
I think you touched on it. Back to infrastructure is if we could secure more, I don't want to say world-class venues or enhance the venues that we currently have, there's room to be desired in those spaces. And I guess to give you guys grace or recognize the challenges that you can only sell what we have, right? And so...
You know, the crazy part is, though, 38,000 room nights through the sports commission last year. Those are like, that's real room nights. So we're doing like selling.
But back to that, you guys got really creative, like tabletop tennis.
That's what I mean. Like non-traditional sports counts as sports too. So I think people think of ball and stick sports, but it could be, it could be pickleball. It could be, I want to say hair growing. I mean, that's a little bit extreme, but there's all kinds of sports. Everybody's got a sport for a thing. And yeah, I think we do really well in that non-traditional sports space too. But how do we use the water, like the water and the wind, like kiteboarding, or like what's our opportunity there for some infrastructure? Somebody said, can we get birdie walks or like just...
Well, you're talking about water in a fun way. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it in that space too. Yeah, I think there is room to be desired for more, I guess, to market ourselves as such, that the wind is here for those kind of competitions.
What about a kite festival? Like we really have wind.
Is that a sport?
I bet it could be.
I mean,
it depends if you get out there and like flex your muscle and really tie the string. I don't know. Like I'm sure there's an art.
I see where you're going with that. Yeah,
it's an art for sure.
Well, and I was on the sports commission, so I thank you guys for that. And also, you mentioned the activation. I want to especially thank you, the team. To your point, is you guys do everything first class. We really made a splash on the Capitol. We had the cooler activation there. The reception was really well received. I think Todd said it best, is that we brought Jimmy Buffett to the Capitol. And so it was Jimmy Buffett vibes. We had a lot of fun. And again, I want to just take this moment to especially thank your team for everything that they did. And I can't wait to actually, I think we're going to put the band together back for DC. And so thank you.
I've heard that.
Thank you for your loose commitment so far to that.
I can't wait for somebody to ask me what a loose commitment means.
No, we're looking forward to that. And the audience, mark your calendar, September 14th through the 16th. The crew, all of us are going to be headed for our advocacy work in DC. So I know you are familiar with advocacy as well. You're not a stranger to the need for that. What do you think are, either at the state, local, federal level, some low-hanging fruit that I guess we could advocate a little bit more for tourism in a certain space or lens, or what are your thoughts?
So one of the things that attracted me to this position and to the state of Texas is how many tools tourism actually already has in the toolbox. So really other states around the United States look at Texas as like a leader or a pioneer in that space of, you have literally every tool, every destination, maybe outside of California, could ever want. So legislatively, I don't see a lot, obviously following the film discussion and how important that is. That's our film commission's getting actually a lot of activity, lot of interest right now. People are really having the conversation about local incentives. What would that look like? But from a legislative perspective, it's probably not anything that's necessarily bill-wise. It's probably more, are we communicating the value of tourism? And I feel like that's the cool part about our destination too. Tourists come. Literally almost 10 million people come every year. So they understand that piece too. So I'll be curious what the opportunity is long term. You might have some more insight on that than I do, but literally the tools are in the toolbox, which is super exciting.
If I had one thing, and I think this is going to be in collaboration, I know Brett, back to your predecessor, was working on it too, what is the next direct flight, right? Where could we connect beyond Dallas and Houston? And certainly Dallas and Houston get us all over the world, but what would be that And if you had to guess, there was a lot of talk about Denver. I've always speculated Vegas just because of the tourism component on that side of the fence, but maybe that's not what we want either. So, I mean, what do you think?
So it's funny. I just sat in my first airport board meeting last week, and we talked about air service and the selling side of that. And I was super curious about why we don't have a lot that goes east. So they are in discussions with a few carriers. A lot of that stuff either goes a little bit northwest or west, and I'm surprised that we haven't had anything come open. So I was thinking like Atlanta, Minneapolis, Chicago, something. I can't tell you that all those are on the radar, but I can tell you it was really nice to hear how hard they're hustling to get that additional air service. Like everybody sees it's an opportunity.
Yeah, and the chamber has been willing to be the host a minimum revenue guarantee fund. If once we start, I guess,
Raising money.
determining where and what, and start making those asks a little more specific. But I know we're anxious. I know we're. How about this though? And like I said, I certainly hope with collaboration we can lead in this spaces. I'm anxious to just see it move faster. I'm not trying to dismiss any efforts that are currently on the table, but I feel like we've been talking the same talk for a couple of years, and I would like to see maybe.
So I'd be curious your opinion on this. So when I have met with airlines in my past life, it really came down to either the pilot shortage
You're there, right there.
or airplanes.
Yep,
Right.
both.
So, and it was never that we couldn't get the gate space. It's never that a community can't raise money. It literally, especially like after a return or Southwest had a crisis, which really changed their entire strategy and how they open up new markets. They're really like, hey, we need to refocus. So those are things that are out of our control, right? It's the same thing as the conversation about the dang escalator at the airport. People are like, is that ever going to get fixed, right? It all comes down to that they can't get the parts. So I would say I agree, like faster, better now.
Sure.
All the time, and especially selling conventions. Like we're a 2-flight city. Like we would love to be a direct city on a lot of levels.
You nailed it though, and that is fair. Is that the industry is what it is. The pilot shortages are real. Maybe back to our point of advocacy, is it now the overall business community's call to action to make sure that kind of workforce development is happening, so to speak. But there's a lot of catching up to do, I guess we would say.
But then I think, well, is that something that we run up to the congressional delegation at some level to say, how do we make air service more accessible? I mean, obviously it's been a focus. There's been a lot of crises with air traffic control, right? Workforce, the way that they communicate. And I think, well, maybe there's something that's a higher level than just a tourism office saying we need more air service. So I think there's a national conversation about it.
And I thank you for recognizing the markets, that it is maybe strong enough, but maybe just the challenges in the aviation industry are what they are. But to give you an example, even of us always playing catch up, did you know when we opened the airport itself?
No, but was it always international?
So well, that I don't can answer. I think it was, but we opened the ribbon cutting. Literally, we're ready to open it up August 2001.
No.
Yes.
I feel like this community has had a lot right around a really critical time.
Right. And so, yeah, September 11th happens. The layout of the airport is no longer conducive to, I mean, but for the most part, most airports, but ours was like immediately
Obsolete.
Obsolete.
Yeah, from a TSA perspective.
Yes. And so they've, again, been playing catch up, but the enhancements that, shout out Kevin, we're sad that we're going to miss him when he moves on to his new role, but the enhancements that him and Tyler made at the airport with respect to the parking, with respect to fees, with respect to collection of just different revenue opportunities, that they have made those enhancements at the airport very obvious.
Listen, I'm new, and I sincerely, every time I go out there, I just dropped somebody off at the airport this morning, and I was like, this place looks good.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a great gateway to our community. I mean, it is first class. I land and I see the welcome to Corpus sign. I see the hut where people can get visitor information. I'm like, this place gets it.
It does. And then the little bar, the outdoor bar, I haven't seen many airports with a patio. Have you gone?
No, I didn't even know we had a bar.
Yeah, it's an outdoor patio bar. You can be outside once you're checked in the gate. Yeah. Well, beyond flying, you were talking rooms, heads and beds. Maybe explain that concept to folks too, in case they're not familiar, that your revenue at VCC is obviously contingent. You got to make sure you bring the heads in the beds, and that's how
Yep.
the business works, so to speak.
Yeah, so two different pots of money for those of you who don't know. There are fees that are assessed to people who stay in hotels. One is called the hot tax, or a hotel tax, that the city collects. The city takes in, last I saw, I'm going to speak high level, around $20 million in hot, Visit Corpus Christi gets 44% of the hot tax to be able to turn around and then market and bring more people. The others go to many organizations throughout the community, which also help drive tourism. The second, a couple years ago, we got what's called a TPID, which is where the hoteliers raised their hand and said, we agree to support this effort. It's all hotel driven, and they help create the business plan for that. So 2 different funding sources, and then some small things like events and revenue, like interest off of earnings and things like that.
Sure. Well, look, we're kind of running out on time.
How can it be?
Well, do you have any questions of your Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, I would say what is your top priority? So typically I feel like it's membership, but
Sure.
is it beyond that? Like you seem like you really have it together. I've enjoyed your presence. I've enjoyed the chamber's presence. Like tell me what you're working on.
I appreciate that. 10 years ago, we went through a merger, and I think we were still sorting out our identity in that conversation. I think we, for the past couple of years, have really, I guess, established our value proposition and made a little more clarity to the membership, which is clearly a goal of ours, is always members, but that there's spaces for them to collaborate, obviously network, connect, business-to-business connections. The advocacy space, which I've always called our secret sauce, is we're the ones, pushing at the local, state, federal level for the needs of the community. And we certainly need to hear from our members and the public at large in those spaces. And the grow, the give back space, where we have like our youth entrepreneurship programs, the procurement for small businesses with industry that we partner with. So I'm trying to create these spaces that make sense for folks, that they can find their space and get engaged. But I certainly feel like our challenge or task as the chamber, the United Chamber, is to truly unite the community. Make sure that our entities are on the same page, that we're preaching from the same Bible, and that we're really Team Corpus Christi, which I'm proud to say I believe that Visit Corpus and the EDC and ourselves, we embody that culture that I think is starting to get more and more understood and established. I think that's our space. I think that's where we're going to try to keep going.
I love it. Good. I feel like super relevant, and I think people need that. And I also like the bridge to your legislative, right, representation. So you make it approachable, you make it easy for your members to be heard, and that's super valuable.
Well, and then back to the collaboration space, it's showing that we are getting together. We're making the ideas better. That best example would be, if folks that weren't familiar, was our legislative days in Austin. Everybody was just lauding how much the team came together, how we also even had our our state priorities just on the same page, preaching from the same Bible. It was fun, and I think it made the impact it needed to make.
I love that.
And we're still doing it. Session's not over, right?
But strong leadership. So congratulations to you and your team. That's great.
Well, no, and congratulations to you. Welcome
you.
to Texas. Welcome to Corpus Christi.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you. I know we're going to have you on here again, so we don't need to wrap up. Get to know you completely. We'll have you on the show again and talk probably as the year goes on about our issues or ongoing efforts. I think your predecessor knows this. Your organization knows this. Is we've been all in on the convention center. Anything and everything we can do to get that enhanced and that infrastructure to the scale and caliber that we believe our community is. It's not there yet, and so we're ready for war, so to speak. We're going to keep on fighting that fight, and we're anxious to get there eventually, right?
Good. I look forward to more.
Well, thank you, Brooke. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to our community, and we look forward to your leadership at Visit Corpus Christi. I want to thank the audience for joining us. We're going to see you again next time.